This is the Jillian Greyse Show, Vibrational Architect. I teach the discipline of redesigning the internal patterns that shape your love, your relationships, and the life you quietly know you were meant to live. Whether you're moving through familiar emotional cycles or you're a high achiever who senses there's more available to you, you're in the right place. This is where people learn to master the architecture of their lives and release the patterns holding them back from their inner blueprint. Each episode ends with a guided transmission to anchor the vibration we're working with so you can fully step into becoming the architect of your own life. Join me, Jillian Greyse, as we pull back the layers and rebuild the vibration you were always meant to live from. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Jillian Greyse Show. We are going to be talking about how to rebuild your life after everything falls apart. And this is going to be a 3-part series. So this first episode is going to be talking about identity breaking and the 5 steps that you need to understand to know who you are at this point now, since there's been shifting going on. I know so many people are out there at this point where it seems like everything in their life is recalibrating. Everything is changing. There are some major events taking place, and there's a reason for those major events taking place. We aren't just shifting, our entire earth is shifting. And to understand that is to also be able to see it for what it is and be able to recognize that you're part of something that's much bigger that's taking place right now. And while that information is great, you need a reason or a way to process this trauma. You need to be able to work through some of the things that you're watching take place. And that's what this series is going to be about, that working through trauma. And this isn't just the trauma that might be occurring in your life right now. This could be past trauma that you're holding on to. This could be preparing for anything that might be taking place in your life and how you can productively move through it. Being able to process and being able to bring yourself back to center. Those things are key in order to take those next steps as you're moving through and architecting your reality. Because let's face it, you can architect everything around you, but you can't fix other people in your life and you can't control all of the circumstances around you. So being aware of that and also knowing how to heal is key. So I want all of you to take a breath with me. Let this be a moment to pause, a place where your system can soften. You can identify with what's going on within you. You can take a moment to breathe, where you can let truth rise to the surface. Today is going to be the beginning of a 3-part series that I will be doing, which will be released each Tuesday at 5 a.m. for the next 3 consecutive podcasts, including this one. This series is going to be all about how you rebuild the architecture of your vibration after a traumatic experience or loss. And in this first episode, it's going to be all about the breaking of that identity, the moment where your soul shifts, your emotional frequency begins to recalibrate, and the version of you that existed before the trauma is no longer the version that will be standing there now. In this episode, we are going to be structured into 5 steps. And these are 5 identity level recalibrations that can help you understand who you are right now so that you can rebuild from a place of truth instead of survival mode. So let's begin. Okay, so step 1, naming the break instead of numbing it. This one is difficult for a lot of people to do because we are a numbing culture. We are I get upset about something or something triggers me. How do I get my mind off of it immediately? When that's the exact wrong thing you want to do. You want to move into it. Every traumatic experience creates a before and after, but most people try to rebuild pretending the break didn't happen. They say, I'm fine. I'm okay. Everything's good. I just need things to get back to normal. But there's no normal to return to. There's only the truth of what happened and the truth of who you are now. Naming the break is the first act of power. It sounds like this. Something happened that altered me. Not in a dramatic way, not in a victimizing way, in a grounded, honest, emotional, intelligent way. Because when you name the break, your nervous system stops fighting reality. It stops trying to hold together the old identity. It stops pretending you're the person you were before the moment everything collapsed. And that's key here. So much about what happens after a trauma is actually a physiological response from stress. So it's a predictable chemical that starts to flow through your body, and then your mind grabs a hold of it and then runs away with it. So understanding how to work with that physiological response is key. So naming the break is not about relieving the trauma. It's about acknowledging a shift. It's about telling your nervous system, we're different now. And now we've got to recalibrate around something new. This is the moment where your system says, I'm not who I was yesterday. And that's okay. And that's where healing begins. That's where rebuilding starts. This is where your new identity begins its journey of taking shape. Acknowledgement is key. Not trying to hide it is also key. We also live in a culture where we try to keep everything secret because we don't want anyone to know our vulnerabilities. And that is going to hold you back in that old pattern with your nervous system and keep you looping. So it's okay to talk. It's okay to tell people what happened. It's okay to open up about what you've been through. Acknowledgement and knowing that there's going to be an adjustment, and also telling your own self, we're going to be changing. That's key in making sure that first step in that identity shifting begins in a way that's healthy. Step 2, identify the version of you that emerged. So trauma doesn't just hurt, it reorganizes. It rearranges the emotional architecture within you. It forces you to see what you couldn't see before. Loss empties you so you can finally see what matters. So the second step is asking yourself, who am I now after this has happened? Not who you were before, not who people expect you to be, not who you're performing as to make other people comfortable, but who are you right now in this moment? This is the part most people skip. They try to build routines, relationships, careers, and futures without ever asking who's doing the rebuilding. You've got to take a step back. Get in touch with this new you that's forming. Because let's face it, everything happens for a reason. And if you find yourself in a traumatic situation, there's often things that either you need to learn, you need to let go of, or you need to realize hidden within there. So there's a version of you that's trying to come out, that's trying to say, take a look, see me. And taking a step back and no longer just trying to see that old version of you, and allowing that new version to get a spotlight within your psyche, within your energetic field, within your acknowledgement, that is key to letting that evolution begin within you. And this is the part that most people skip. But if you don't know who you are now, then you're going to rebuild a life that doesn't fit you. You're going to go back and you're going to rebuild from the old you. And then you're going to find yourself repeating the patterns. And this is where you start to see that trauma loop hit. So the key is ask yourself, be honest with yourself, open up to yourself, allow yourself to reveal itself, and say to yourself, what did this experience reveal about me? What values became non-negotiable? What boundaries became essential? What parts of me woke up? What parts of me died? What parts of me are still forming? This is not about judgment, it's about clarity. Because the clarity is the foundation of rebuilding, and you cannot rebuild a new life with the outdated identity, or you're going to rebuild the old life, and it's an outdated form. So you have to step away from that timeline and be ready to move into that new piece of you, and acknowledging the lesson, acknowledging the information that changed you, acknowledge who you are becoming. That's key. Step 3, reclaim 1 square inch of control. So after trauma, your system feels hijacked. Your routines feel like they're collapsed, and this sense of agency dissolves. Your identity feels like it's floating above you instead of inside you, and that can be very disorienting for anyone who's experiencing it. So you rebuild by choosing one small, repeatable action that reminds your system, I still belong to myself. 1 square inch of control, not a whole house. You're not going to build a whole future. You're not going to focus on building your whole identity all at once. 1 square inch. Maybe it's making your bed. Maybe it's opening the blinds. Maybe it's drinking water before you have your morning coffee. Maybe it's walking for 10 minutes. Maybe it's writing down a sentence in a journal. Maybe it's whispering something to yourself in the mirror so that you can register whatever you are trying to get through and allow your system to relax. This is not about the task, it's about the frequency of agency. Your system needs to feel I can choose something, I can complete something. I can still influence my environment, even if my environment is out of control. Because when you reclaim 1 square inch of control, your nervous system begins to stabilize, your identity begins to anchor, your emotional frequency begins to rise, and suddenly the world doesn't feel so overwhelming. The future doesn't feel impossible. Everything doesn't seem so out of control. And the next step doesn't feel as heavy. This is how rebuilding begins, not with grand gestures, with small, consistent acts of self ownership. So write that down for any trauma that you either currently experienced or currently are experiencing or have in the past or even in the future. Make note. Gaining back one thing that you can control will start to regulate yourself back into your own system. And once you do that, you're going to start to create from that place, even in subtle, small pieces. And there's no reason to be in a hurry. And this happens because we go into this fight or flight response where we feel like we have to fix everything now, recalibrate everything now, get on the right track right now. And in a culture of people who are so traumatized and unhealed, which is one of the reasons why we're seeing so much of this trauma come up, because we are in a culture where that mindset is shifting and people are choosing to heal. People are also choosing to evolve. They're looking for deeper answers. This is a time on this planet where everyone is asking major questions and they are trying to actively become better, or the parts of them that hold them back from becoming better are becoming uncontrollable. So we are here at this precipice for a reason, and we're here together. And being able to understand how to process these things as they come through is key. And that is one of the reasons why I felt so drawn to do this 3-part series, because I myself am going through trauma. I myself am experiencing a lot of upheaval. So I know that no one's immune to it. And I know that it's something that needs to be addressed, and that everyone who is in a healing space has the opportunity to be able to get access to it. That's important to me, to make sure that everybody knows how to work through these things, because I've been a pioneer of working on and helping people with their frequency for 20 years now. Getting this information out is so important to my soul. Step 4, release the identity the trauma tried to give you. Every trauma tries to hand you a false identity. That false identity is tied to the nervous system reaction from your past. So if you can grab an identity from what just happened to you and you can focus on that, then it will tell your mind that this is the reason that this occurred. And it will either set you up for a cycle of that continuous reoccurrence, or it will set you up to stay stuck in that place. Because remember, the ego and your psyche is all about pattern recognition to find out if there's a threat. So even if labeling that and saying that is going to cause you to continue to feel the trauma, your mind thinks of it as a predictable event. Therefore, you're safer. So in your ego, you're safer in misery than you are in the unknown. So that's why this begins to take place. So step 4 is about releasing the identity that trauma tried to give you. So you've got to identify the false identity that's trying to evolve. And you have to say, okay, my traumatic experience is trying to hand me this identity that tells me I'm not safe, is trying to say that I'm not lovable, that I'm alone, that I'm too much, that I'm not enough, that I'm broken. None of those are truths. Those are all trauma imprints that your mental capacity is trying to focus on. Is what is trying to do to help you with that trauma response so it can become more predictable and therefore seem like less of a threat. If you don't consciously release these thoughts, they are going to be the blueprint you rebuild your life from. So it is so important. Do not hold on to these thoughts. This step is about saying, I am no longer willing to carry the identity that the pain assigned to me. And when you look at what the trauma identification things are that pop into your mind, they are often rooted in the same piece of the blueprint within you that caused you to need this experience. So let me explain that a little bit further. Let's say you felt like you were unlovable, and that was underneath an underlying current of something that was in the background for you. Then you are going to create outer circumstances that push through that unlovable thought process and bring it to light for you, not to torture you, not to reinforce that you're unlovable, but to get you to rise from that power, to get you to say, I am lovable, and I'm so lovable that I don't deserve this. So don't miss that response that happens physiologically and get caught up in it, because we're human. So we always default to the human response first. It's part of our nature. It's what we've trained our nervous system and our entire energetic blueprint to do. It's one of the reasons why I do this podcast for everyone, because you have to retrain that blueprint. You have to step into that architecture to control and to shift and to become what you're here to be. So don't get caught up in that blueprint, that old style. I want you to move forward into the architecting of it and to say to yourself, choose that identity that's emerging from your healing. Ask yourself, what identity am I done with? What identity am I stepping into? What identity feels like truth instead of trauma? You're no longer willing to carry the pain assigned to you from the past. So make that clear. Release the identity that started to become created during that survival mode. Release the identity that tried to shape that fear. Release the identity that was formed the moment of impact. And choose the identity that's emerging for you to heal. So I want you to catch those thoughts. When you think, I'm broken, I'm not enough, I'm lonely, I'm going to always be alone, I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough, I want you to grab those and I want you to immediately switch them into what that new self would tell that old self. Come from a place of love. Say to yourself, I am lovable. This happened because I'm being opened for deeper love. This occurrence in my life is in front of me because I'm here to evolve and I'm here to end up in a higher place afterwards. This is bringing towards me everything I was secretly asking for, because in order to step into a new beginning, the old has to be torn down. Step into the part of you that's going to start choosing that new energy. That is where your power returns. That is where your voice returns. That is where your vibrational frequency rises. And you begin to attract what you are worthy of instead of the outdated form that was leaving you. You are not the identity that the trauma tried to give you. You're the identity you choose to embody now. You are the identity that emerged because of this trauma that you brought towards you to show you what needed to come out. That is so important to remember in every step of the way. Do not get caught up in that old narrative, because it will put you back in that same loop. And that same loop is what you're trying to get away from, is what you're trying to outgrow. So don't get stuck in that cycle, or what is called the karmic wheel, or your long-term life lessons. I mean, there's so many different theological understandings that really shed light onto this situation. So we know of that process of that soul evolution that takes place. We've known this since the beginning of time. Our ancients were very well aware of it. Learning to apply it now in real time, that's going to be your triumph. Okay, last but not least, anchor into the new frequency of you. Once you've named that break, identify who you are now. Reclaim control. Release the false identity. You anchor into the new frequency. This is the step where you stop trying to resurrect the old life and you start building a life that matches your truth. And here's the other piece. That truth has been knocking on your door for quite some time, whether you want to see it or not. So often, again, our psyche, to keep us safe, keeps us locked into the old pattern, the old thought process, the old dreams, the old world that we were once in, because it's predictable. But all of this is happening and everything is shifting around you because you need that new frequency to anchor in. You need those new dreams to come alive. You need that new meaning that's been trying to wake up within you to become the meaning of why you wake up every day, because it's time. This is the step where you stop trying to resurrect the old life and you start building the life that matches your truth. Anchoring looks like choosing relationships that meet your new emotional frequency, creating routines that support your nervous system, setting boundaries that honor your new identity, making decisions from your healed self, not your hurt self. Anchoring is not about perfection, it's about alignment. It's about saying, I'm going to build forward, not backward. This is the moment you stop surviving and you start becoming. This is going to be the first of a three-part series because identity is the foundation, and you cannot rebuild routines, relationships, or purpose until you understand who you are now, which is why I wanted this to be a breakout of a series. This is a core of everything that's going to be taking place in order for you to get back on track. It's also important to know this is for anything. This is even for if in your soul you feel like you need to be making a shift and don't know what to do. These principles are huge in order to take that old self and release it from your psychological imprint so that you can step into vibrating the new imprint and into architecting the new imprint and bring that to life. Now, episode 2, which I will release next week, is going to be focused on emotional architecture, stabilizing that nervous system, processing the emotional debris, rebuilding that internal home. And then our third episode is going to focus on building forward. So creating an aligned life with your new identity, choosing new relationships, environments, and goals that match your frequency. But for now, we're just going to integrate everything we explored today in this talk down because it's a step-by-step process. And understanding the layers as you peel them back and mastering them is key. So for this period of time, I want you to spend on how you can release that old identity so that you can be prepared to step into those new identity pieces and acknowledging what's truly happening. And it's not just happening within you, it's happening on a global scale. Everybody is going through huge recalibrations right now. So knowing how to handle the trauma when it comes through, knowing how to release your trauma when it comes up in you in a productive way so you don't end up creating more karma or end up creating more life lessons or end up tearing apart your whole life because of your lack of knowledge of what's going on within you is so imperative right now. As always, at the end of every episode, I do a guided talk down transmission for anyone out there who wants to help move some of the things that we talk about through their actual architecture, taking a moment to let your energy recalibrate to a new beginning, to a shift in thought process, to really step into the knowledge that you received is always key. It's one of the reasons that why when you're done reading an important section of a book that you're learning from, you take a moment to sit back and let your mind process. These talk downs serve as a way of inputting it directly into your field so that you can move forward with that knowledge as part of your library. And taking the steps necessary becomes a lot easier when it's part of what you already know and already feel in your heart. So I invite you to close your eyes if you can, let your shoulders drop, let your breath deepen, and inhale slowly through your nose as we go through this journey together. Feel the weight of your body supported beneath you. Feel the air around you. Feel the space you occupy, the space that belongs to you. Now imagine a soft light moving through your body. It doesn't need to be bright, it just needs to be present. This light is the part of you that survived, the part of you that knows, the part of you that's rebuilding and waiting for you to be ready to let it in. With every inhale, feel that light expand 1 inch. With every exhale, Feel your system soften around it. Inhale, expansion. Exhale, release. Inhale, presence. Exhale, grounding. Now say internally, I am here. I am becoming. I am rebuilding. I am safe in this moment. Let that light settle. Allow that light to grow larger throughout your body, lighting up every part, from the bottom of your feet to your knees, to your hips, to your stomach, to your heart, and down to the tips of your fingers. And through your chest to your neck, moving all the way to the crown of your head. Lighting up every space within you. Any darkness, any dense energy, allow this light to sweep it away. I invite you to scan your body once more and allow this light to move through any energy that's stuck, any energy of your old self. It's time to light up a new beginning. Center yourself back into this light. Allow your attention to return back to your space. And take one more deep breath and open your eyes. Before we close today, I want to speak directly to the part of you that's waking up, the part of you that's ready to rebuild, not from pressure, but from truth. If you're listening to this and you feel that feeling that says to you that you're meant for a deeper level of healing, a clearer identity, a more aligned life, you're feeling all of this craziness that's going on this planet right now and seeing it, I want you to know you do not have to do this alone. I write a weekly newsletter where I share deep layers of all of the work that I talk about and have been mastering for the past 20 years. The identity shifts, the emotional frequency tools, the behind the scenes teachings, things I don't share anywhere else. So if you want to stay connected to this journey and if you need guidance that meets you where you are, you can join me there. It's intimate and it's designed to support your evolution. And also for those of you who feel called to a deeper transformation. Let's say you're dealing with things that are pretty traumatic right now. You're dealing with huge shifts and you want to make sure that you architect these next steps the way that your heart desires. That is so imperative. I offer private coaching and I have for the past 20 years, again, for people all over the world, thousands of people. It's not for everyone. It's for people who are ready to rebuild their lives from the inside out, who need a mentor to walk beside them and give you the tools so that you can become the version of yourself that's calling you. If that's something you feel called to, I will put a link to both my newsletter as well as my one-on-one coaching right in the notes to the show, or you can go to jilliangreyse.com and receive all the information there. I'm here when you're ready, not to fix you, not because you're broken, but to help you remember who you are and architect the life that matches the truth you're stepping into. Let this episode settle into your system. And if someone in your life is moving through their own patterns or stepping into their next level, send this episode to them. The vibration you're integrating becomes stronger when it's shared. And if you feel called, liking the show or leaving a review helps this work to reach people who are meant to find it. I'm Jillian Greyse, and I'll meet you in the next episode as we keep rebuilding the blueprint that you were always meant to live from.